Education Service Coordinator, Region 6, Central Java, Indonesia, all the representatives, the esteemed keynote speakers, the distinguished Vice Rectors of Universitas Muhammadiyah, Surakarta, the esteemed deans of faculties and head of study programs throughout Universitas Muhammadiyah, Surakarta, along with other distinguished guests. Praise and gratitude to be the Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for His abundant blessing and guidance, allowing us together in the Muhammad Yasman Auditorium to participate in the events of the opening ceremony of ISET, the International Summit on Science, Technology, and Humanity 2023. Secondly, let's extend our gratitude to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. May peace be upon him. This year, International Summit on Science, Technology, and Humanity, or well known as ISET, takes challenge and opportunity in science and technology development as our theme today. The summit aspires to establish a prominent platform wherein researchers and academics can disseminate their research findings, engage with lecturers and researchers from diverse institutions, and fortify collaborative network among the participants. It is imperative to note that ISET 2023 also holds a significant place in our university's calendar, serving as an integral part of the festivities commemorating the 65th anniversary of Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta. Before we proceed with our fabulous keynote speakers, allow me to read today's agenda. First, we will have recitation of Holy Quran, and then singing national anthem and Sang Surya. After that, we have welcoming speech and report from the chairman of ISET 2023, followed by opening speech by Rector of Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta and remarks from the head of Center of Higher Education Service Coordinator, Region 6, Central Java, Indonesia. The next agenda is keynote speaker sessions. And the last one is closing and announcements. Ladies and gentlemen, without ado, let's begin our agenda with recitation of the Holy Quran. I'd like to welcome Ummu Latifah, student of Islamic Quran and Tafsir program at Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta. She will recite Quran Surah Ali Imran, verse 102 to 105. Miss Ummu Latifah, the stage is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون ولتكن منكم أمة يدعون إلى الخير ويأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر وأولئك هم المفلحون ولا تكونوا كالذين تفرقوا واختلفوا من بعد ما جاءهم البينات wa ulaika lahum azabun azim. Shadaqallahul azim. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thanks for Miss Latifah for the recitations of the Holy Quran. Next, our agenda is singing the national anthem, followed by Sang Surya. And for this valuable opportunity, Miss Zuhroh Wafa Atiyah will lead us as conductor. She is the student of Civic Education Program at Universitas Muhammadiyah, Surakarta. Miss Zuhroh, I welcome you to place yourself. And ladies and gentlemen, with all respects, please kindly stand up. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Thank you, Ms. Zuhra. Moving on, let's listen to welcoming speech and report from the Chairman of Conference. Please welcome Mr. Agus Ulinuha, PhD.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in wa ba'du. First of all, I would like to express my respect to the Head of Office for Higher Education Services LLDT Region 6 Central Java, Mr. Bisma Widya Adoko, SMH, the Head of Muhammadiyah Higher Education and Research Board, Professor Dr. Bambang Setiaji, MSI, who is also the former rector of UMS, and at this opportunity will also be the keynote speaker. Thank you for coming. The rector of Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta and all vice rectors, the faculty deans, the director of postgraduate school, and the head of bureau, unit, and office, the chairman and all committee members of UMS Milad, the head of department at the UMS, the keynote speakers for ISAT and for all conferences under ISAT, the advisory board and organizing committees of the summit, and all conference chairs, as well as Freq directors of the conferences, and in particular, the presenters and participants of this summit. Alhamdulillah, many thanks to Allah that has granted all the things, whereas this is the only that makes this summit take place. On behalf of ISAT committee, I would be happy to have your attention for the reports of the summit that I am going to present. The ISAT is an event as part of UMS Milad. This year, ISAT covered 14 international conferences. This number increases from last year's, which is 11 conferences. 5 of the conferences have been previously carried out. 3 conferences will be hosted today and tomorrow, and 2 conferences are scheduled on this December, and 3 conferences will be hosted at January 2025, and 1 conference will be hosted at June 2025. The topic of this summit is Challenge and Opportunity in Science and Technology Development. The selection of this topic is based on the fact that we are currently facing different situations, which might not be previously foreseen. Science and technology is now developing faster than expected and touches almost every side of life. While this rapid development may lead to the better condition, some effects may also be encountered. In this case, science and technology is required to respond to the quick change and to answer the related problems that may appear. In terms of participants, we have so far accepted 1,569. Again, 1,569 papers. This number is bigger than last year's, which is 971. This number will inshallah still increase since some conferences will be hosted later and are still accepting and reviewing some submission. The paper from student is the greatest one, followed by the external OMS, and the little number is from OMS participant. This indicates the summit is slowly getting recognized by the scholar external of UMS. From overseas participants, we accept 44 papers from 19 countries. This figure is better than that of last year, which is 25 papers from 15 countries. While the outdoor diversity is good, the number of papers from overseas author is still minimum. Some efforts are still necessary to make this summit more interesting, that attracts people to contribute to the summit. The essential part of the summit is the opportunity for the student to present their final project in the relevant conference and get their paper published in the proceeding index by Scopus. The policy of the university states that upon successful publication in a reputable international proceeding, the examination of final project is no longer required. Moreover, publishing in a good proceeding will be a good point for their future. In terms of publication, we get 4 Scopus index publisher and 1 Q2 journal willing to publish paper presented in this conference. We also provide the ISAT proceeding to publish the remaining papers. We understand that to organize the summit, we got the support and contributions from committee members and many people in this university. They have been working tirelessly for the successful of this wonderful event. Therefore, I would like to gratefully appreciate their support and contribution. Moreover, I should not disregard the support from university management that fully support the summit, such that the summit may be successfully carried out. In particular, I am in debt to thanks to the head of UMS Milad, Professor Anton Agus Setiawan, who has given support and motivation to the summit. I would like to thank the keynote speakers for the summit and for all conferences. We got 3 distinguished speakers for ISAT and many keynote speakers for the 14 international conferences. Many thanks for all reviewers who have worked very hard to review the papers and have given some valuable comments and suggestions. Without their works, we might not get good papers. It is our hope that this summit and all conferences will be running well, and the papers might be published as soon as possible in the journals and index proceedings. More than that, the idea and finding discussed in these conferences will have the opportunity for further improvement and application. The last, even though we have prepared all the things as best as we can, we understand that some unforeseen problems may still take place. What we can say is we do apologize for the uncomfortable situation that might happen. At the end, I would like to thank all participants and people attending this ceremony and joining the keynote speech session and the conferences after this session. Thank you very much. I hope you find this summit interesting. Nasrum minallah wa fathun qarib. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Agus Ulinuha, PhD, for the insightful presentations of ISET 2023 Activity Report. The next agenda is opening speech by Rector of Universitas Muhammadiyah, Surakarta, and it's my pleasure to welcome Professor Dr. Sofyan Anif, Magister Science.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajmain, amma ba'd. Good morning. First of all, I would like to thanks for your attention. Also to express my respect to the head of Office for Higher Education Service, LLDT, Region 6, Central Java, Bapak Bimo Widyo Andoko SMH, insyaAllah via Zoom. The head of Muhammadiyah Higher Education and Research Board, Professor Dr. Bambang Setiaji, MSc. He is also the former rector of this UMS. Thanks for your coming, Pak Bambang. The Vice Rector of UMS, the Faculty Dean, the Director of Postgraduate School and the Head of Bureau, Unit and Office, the Head of Department at the Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta, the Chairman and all committee members of the Milad of UMS, the keynote speakers of this ISET and the invited speakers for all conference under ISET, the advisory board and the organizing committee of this summit and all conference chair, as well as track director of conference, and in particular the presenters and participants of this summit. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Many thanks to Allah that has granted all the things were this the only that make this summit takes place. On behalf of University Rector, I am very happy to welcome all persons attending this opening session and joining this event online and Zoom meeting. ISET is an event as part of UMS Milad or UMS anniversary. This year, UMS has achieved the age of 65 years. There are some activities and events that have been arranged to celebrate some activities celebrate the anniversary of UMS. One of the important programs is the International Summit on Science, Technology, and Humanity, or ISET. Up to this year, ISET has been organized for 9 times. It is expected that for 9 years, this summit has contributed providing forum for publishing many papers indexed by Scopus and Web of Science. This year, ISET cover 14 international conferences. This number increased from the last year, which is 11 international conference. The topic of this year summit is challenge and opportunity in science and technology development. I think this topic is quite exciting, where the development of science and technology may imply some challenge. How this challenge smartly managed and how the opportunities in this change are carefully taken. This summit has collaborated with some publisher indexed by Scopus. This is a very good opportunity for us to present papers that will be published in the proceeding and journal indexed by Scopus. As university director, I would like to call everybody not to miss this opportunity. This summit also gives the opportunity for the student to present their final project at the relevant conference and get their paper published in the proceeding indexes by Scopus. This also a good opportunity for the student to have good publication record that certainly benefit their after study completion. I understand that to organize the summit, the contribution and support from many people may not be disregarded, and for this, I would like to gratefully acknowledge them. I would like to thank to keynote speakers for the summit and all invited speakers for conference. We got 3 distinguished speakers for ISAT and many invited speakers for the 14th International Conference. Finally, it is our hope that this summit will be running well for the keynote speech session today and the presentation session for tomorrow and some days as given in the schedule. We do hope and all participants get this conference interesting and fruitful. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
We express our sincere gratitude for the warm reception extended by Professor Dr. Sofyan Anif, the esteemed rector of Universitas Muhammadiyah, Surakarta. Ladies and gentlemen, let's proceed to the next agenda. Remarks from the head of Center of Higher Education's Service Coordinator, Region 6, Central Java, Indonesia. It is an honor for me to welcome Mr. Bimo Widyo Andoko through a video presentation. Let us collectively engage in this insightful discourse.
Excellencies, esteemed speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to welcome you to one of the best international summit in Indonesia. We are gathered this morning here in Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta, or UMS, as the host for the special event of the 9th International Summit on Science, Technology and Humanity, or SMV 2023. The significance of this conference is aimed at providing a platform for the further sharing on challenges and opportunity in science and technology development. I wish to express my full appreciation for the awesome effort made by UMS in promoting and strengthening higher education collaboration network among all the participants. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Recently, Indonesia had 4,000 higher education institutions with a total more than 3 million students and 300,000 lecturers. While it is a great number, but higher education won't bring great impact without continual innovation. So once again, I would remind you that research and innovation are essential instruments of higher education, while development of higher education are vital elements of our future. With this conference, we are now reached out to the world to join forces in addressing global challenges on economic changes, energy, and to find the optimal education strategy for our future generation. Hopefully, this meeting can be sustainable and develop in the future with a better breakthrough for a mutual and beneficial collaboration. Thank you all for your presence and wish you an interesting meeting and fruitful discussion. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for first keynote speaker, delivered by the chairman of the Higher Education, Research and Development Council of the Central Executive Board of Muhammadiyah, Professor Dr. Bambang Setiaji, with title The Challenge of Unforeseen Global Economic Change and the Opportunity of Country Resilience. On keynote speech 2 by Professor Dr. Said Islam from Federation University, Australia, we will have the title The Challenge of Renewable Energy Development and its Opportunity to Contribute for Global Energy Demand. By the time of keynote speech 3, we are going to have the optimal education strategy to align future development in science and technology by Mr. Christoph Van Vesi, PhD, from University of Jyväskylä, Finland. Just for your reminder that your presence and active participants in today's proceedings are greatly appreciated as we collectively explore the challenges and opportunities that lie at the intersection of science and technology development. For all keynote speaker sessions will be moderated by Mr. Huda Kurnia Maulana, Master of Business Administration. He is an alumni of Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta at Economic and Business Faculty. He was the grantee of the Fulbright Master Degree Program at University of Dayton, United States of America. He got his MBA degree by the time of 2020. Mr. Huda is a highly educated individual with a passion for marketing and higher educations. He has extensive experience in both research and teaching, and he is currently working as a marketing strategist for Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta. Mr. Huda is also an expert in the field of segmentation, targeting, and positioning. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Huda Kurnia Maulana, Master of Business Administrations. For Mr. Huda, time and stage belongs to you now. Please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mas Rahyan, for the kind introduction. It is always awkward when someone is introducing you in front of these many great guests and speakers. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, professors, doctors, researchers, esteemed guests, and I guess all of visionary minds from across the globe, not only here in this great auditorium, but also those of you who are joining us through Zoom, or those of you who might be watching this video later in YouTube. So it is with immense pleasure that I extend my warmest welcome to the 9th edition of the International Summit on Science, Technology, and Humanity. As we gather here today, our collective focus converges on the pivotal theme of challenges and opportunities in science and technology development. Like what our university president has already alluded earlier, we are hopeful that this summit will serve as a nexus for uniting diverse perspectives, knowledge, and also experience. And we are also hopeful that it will foster an environment ripe for insightful discussion, collaboration, and even discoveries. So again, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to each one of you who has graced this event with your presence. I hope you are going to have a wonderful keynote session this morning and also have a wonderful rest of the summit and conferences. So, in preparing for my welcome remark to all of you this morning, I tried to think of what would be the quickest way and the best way to prepare for my speech. And I've got to be honest that it was quite a challenge. I tried to draft it myself, and then having it proofread by someone else. It didn't work. It took too much time, and maybe I'm not that smart. I also tried to copy someone else's speech, but that was not practical, and that was also not ethical. And then I tried to, why not try to do it an old school way, which is to have someone else write it down for me. But I cannot find that someone else. So I then thought, why not ask ChatGPT to do it for me instead? Yes. I mean, it's quick, it's free, it is customizable, and to some extent, it is reliable. But yesterday, as I hover my fingers on the keyboard of my laptop, something struck me. And that something has something to do with the last word of today's summit, humanity. Yeah. So, yes, ChatGPT and other AI-powered tools, they are great, they are reliable, they are affordable, they are accessible, but they are just that, tools. Yeah. So in the midst of exponential technological leaps, it is not just about the advancements or the innovations, but it is about ensuring that we as humans steer the course of those developments. If you think about it, it is strategic thinking after all, a critical thinking and a deliberate thought process of contemplating future possibilities. So that is this summit is all about, basically. So throughout the summit, today, the rest of this morning, and also tomorrow or even last week, some of you had your conferences last week already, we are going to talk about AI, renewable energy, new ways of teaching students, new ways of approaching SDGs, things like that. But I want to remind of what we are actually doing this morning, which is sharing perspectives and also worldviews. There is the human part of any advancement, perspectives and worldviews. So that is why the keynote sessions in this summit is interdisciplinary in nature. We have a professor from economics, we have a professor from renewable energy, and we have an expert in education. Because we want this session to kick off the sub-conferences that you are going to have, or indeed that you already had. We are hopeful to provide you with the bigger picture, and we will not just see the trees, but we'll be able to see the forest, looking at the issue from the bigger picture. So, in regards to that, we are honored to welcome 3 world-class scientists. We have Professor Bambang Setiaji, who is joining us in person. Welcome, Prof. Bambang. Yeah. We also have Professor Syed Islam, who is virtually joining us from Australia. Welcome, Prof. Welcome. Please. And we also have Dr. Venue Vesely Christoph, who is joining us from Finland. Yeah. So, just a little bit of logistical things here. Since we have 3 speakers from 3 different time zones, we also have the Western Indonesia time zone here. Professor Syed Islam is joining us from Australia. I think he's in New South Wales now. And we also have Dr. Venue Vesely, who is joining us from Finland. So we want to be respectful of these time differences. So in regards to that, we are going to have 3 separate keynote sessions. First, we are going to have Professor Bambang's session for 45 minutes, including the Q&A. Then afterwards, we are going to have Professor Syed Islam's keynote session, 45 minutes as well, including the Q&A. And to wrap up our day this morning, we are going to have Dr. Christoph Venue Vesely's session for 45 minutes, including the Q&A. So, we are going to get straight to it, and we are going to have the first keynote session, and I'm already honored to have Professor Bambang Setiaji beside me. Welcome again, Prof. Bambang. Thank you for being here. We are really eager to hear his thoughts and perspectives on the session of this morning summit. So, we all know that Professor Bambang Setiaji is not a stranger in this part of the world. I'm certain that his picture is hanging somewhere here, over there, I think. Yeah. So he was the president or the university rector of this Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta for over 15 years. But he is now the head of Muhammadiyah Higher Education and Research Board, Indonesia. He is a professor in labor economics, actually, but I believe that his visionary minds transcend the boundary of disciplines. So, I'm really grateful to have Prof. Bambang here. I and him have already worked on several papers together. We have co-authored a book as well. So, one thing that I'm sure about Prof. Bambang is he is always visionary, and he will deliver insightful topic on you. So, 45 minutes, Prof. Bambang, to deliver your session, including the Q&A, or maybe 30 minutes, 30 minutes, and then we'll have the 15 minutes for the Q&A. Okay? You have all of the stage for you. Yeah, please, if you are comfortable on the podium, go ahead. 30 minutes, Prof. Bambang. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, wa syukurillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Thank you to Pak Rektor and highly respect, also Pak Agus Uliniha, Prof. Agus. Highly respect to you. Have held the forum, the conference until 9. Yeah? Vice Rector, all Vice Rector here, and then lecturers, young researcher here. I hope, I please hope too much, very much to you to continue the climate academic in Muhammadiyah. Also Professor Syed Islam, and also the young Professor Christoph. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to try to fulfill the gimana? Gimana? Oke. Ini dimatikan. Oh. Gini aja. Okay, I hope better. I would like to try to explain my idea with limited time 30 minutes, and also limited English. Okay. Please the first slide. Waduh, kecil banget. Yeah, what is my concern in this case? This is my long contemplation, my long what I thinking. That globalization now has significantly improved what we call prosperity, in case of information, investment, technology, science. Like what we all together now enjoy. For instance, now we can read many material to write paper from anywhere, especially for, after the internet coming. Jangan diganti wajahku, aku nggak bisa baca. Slide, still slide.
The slide, please.
Slide-nya aja, Mas.
Yeah.
Jangan wajahku, Mas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a minute, Prof. Maybe they need to change the font and all. Yeah, there you have it.
Even the words even prosperity better now, but we found that in the world still exists the weight gap. Yeah? The richer become richer, the poor become poor, and we find in every countries now what we call monopoly, oligarchy, not only in our country in Indonesia but anywhere. In my observation, like our country in Indonesia, we still face our country still face huge unemployment and poverty, kemiskinan. And we try to take role model, namely the Western, especially US and Europe. Yeah? But as we know that US and Europe still face the similarity problem. Still face unemployment and poverty also. So this make what we call some crisis because we don't believe again to our role model. Also in the recent time now, beside the West cannot solve the problem itself, also the West not really respect to us. For instance, in the case of Palestine, and many war before, yeah, in Afghanistan, in Iraq. So our relation with the West should be evaluated. In this case, the case of Palestine, now China harvests the sympathy from the OIC, from the Muslim countries, and from the third world. We hope that China would like to lead the world, would like to make a new relation, new situation, the better relation in economic and technology. China combining market economy and communism. So many books write that why China now become the world leader. It is because the openness, the democratization in economic. Since Xiaoping take the power in 1978. But in my opinion, that the growth of China is not only the combination. China not easy to replicate, to duplicate or replicate. Why? Because China is very big country. The land is no country as wide as China, and population also very huge. 1,050,000, 1.5 billion, not million, billion. And also the culture, yeah. China has a very good culture and economic. They have a long struggle. So this means what I say, that not easy to replicate China from the side of the system. Next slide. So after we have crisis to the West, because the West cannot solve the problem itself, especially in unemployment and in poverty, and not so respect to the OIC and to the TITBOT. We hope that China, relation with China will make a better. But I read some book with title Rising China and Migration. We also adapt to China. We look like many countries not so trust to China. Why? Because even China has capital surplus. China also have low skill labor surplus. So we guess that China would like to bring the armada, the low skill employer to the third world countries. So that's why we don't so trust to China, and we are worried about the China. Many countries said that got investment and debt from China. Jadi hutang itu bacanya, tulisannya debt, DEBT, bacanya debt, kematian, ya. Jadi hutang itu sama dengan kematian, ya. Sama China debts and investment trap. So intrusion of demographic and economic agent cause justice problem in ASEAN and also in African. Many countries become problem in Vietnam, Burma, Thailand, and of course Indonesia. Also, China price war, very low price goods and services from China. is a threat to innovation and industry partnership. Many countries close their industry and change the entrepreneur become trader, just buy from China and sell to their own country, including America. Including America. Many industry in America close and they make they move the industry to China and import again to America. Also concerning shifting the energy. Nice slide. Okay. We know now that mobile electric, motor electric become the future of economic. We ask who get what, where, and when. So in this case, Indonesia is what we call own of raw material of lithium. I agree with Mr. President to ban the raw material directly to the partner. They want the president agree that should be processing in Indonesia. Even politicians make many lie. In this case, I believe that it is true. Memang kadang-kadang menipu, tapi dalam hal ini saya kira beliau jujur. About next slide, about digital economic, artificial intelligence, robotic, machine learning, making the new era. This will have impact to production, distribution, consumption, forming a new structure. Will change many job. So many people worry that their expertise would be changed with computer. The profession like accountant, maybe including doctor, medicine doctor, in the future will be terancam? Threatened. For instance, in accountant, people before write with hand and then debit, credit to count the. Usually they use ratio, capital ratio in profit. Now with computer and machine, artificial intelligence will take in second. But beside the growth, beside the development, I would like to think about the negative effect. What I observe in our country, in Indonesia, is platform digital. Here in Indonesia we have three famous, Go, blah blah blah, and then Grab, Gojek, GoFood, Grab, and Shopee. We only have three vendors to serve all our nation. The number of restaurant in all Indonesia may be 1.5 million. All restaurant become member, the three. Not only one restaurant, not one vendor, but one restaurant take three vendor. So the three, what we call, control 1.5 million restaurant. All restaurants send the send the money every night. How much the vendor asks? More than 50%. Sometimes if we buy 20,000, the vendor also more than 20,000. So more than 100%. This would make what we call monopoly structure in the future. So digitalized economic is sometimes democratize, make more democratic, but sometimes make a monopoly. Why? Because digital platform in economy we observe as marginal cost approach to zero. If you make digital platform with 1,000 customer, the cost is almost the same with 1 million customer. So increasing customer do not affect to the cost. So we call that the cost approach to zero. Biayanya tuh makin lama makin mendekati nol. Pada titik infinite itu nol. Okay. Next slide. I would like to make short comment on the economic of conflict, the economic of war. As we know now, we see in Palestine, Ukraine before, and still going on, the both countries. What is economic side of the war? The industry of arm. Itu industri besar banget itu. One missile itu maybe until 10 billion. If we buy house, one missile, 10 billion itu dapat berapa itu? 1 billion kan dapat 3 rumah sederhana. So every missile to 30 house for the poor. In the night, how many missile blowing? For instance, 1,000 missile, 1,000 times 30. Every night, 30,000 house for poor, for the poor. So, we are now in situation, we spend our money to buy missile or buy welfare, to buy education, health, and so on. Because even we are now do not include in the conflict, we are worried that sometime Indonesia also be attacked from the other. So, as Mr. Prabowo said in Surabaya, how to make peace, we should spend money to defend tool, to defend good, to the missile. So even the war only happen in Palestine, all of the country in the world will buy the missile because they worry that will happen in their country. So who make harvest in industry? America, maybe Russia, maybe Europe. Okay, next I will make short comment about digital money. I don't know, lecture here have digital money or not, especially what we call Bitcoin. Siapa yang hand up who has Bitcoin? Oh, no one. Yeah. I myself, I have, but only 1 million to observe what happened there. Just to try because I am teacher. Yeah. Bitcoin is some asset, very absurd. If you read in the Wikipedia, Bitcoin is only picture who will be made by the expert with very high mathematical computation. So just believe that this is very high value. Jadi percayalah itu suatu barang yang hebat karena dibuat dengan matematika yang hebat. Dan itu sangat absurd, itu hanya gambar. Ya, hanya gambar. So in economy, if something we say this is hebat, itu bahasa Inggrisnya apa? Great, ya? We can spend the money. We can spend the money. If demand and supply happen, the market will be happen also. But including my majelis ulama still forbidden the Bitcoin, because the very high speculation like gambling. So the digital money in this case also very close, similar with gambling. It's very volatile economy. Sometimes the money in the one night twofold, and then in the day after fall down, drop. Make our heart high beat, tuk 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 tuk. So who have heart problem, please do not buy Bitcoin. Yeah? The next, my conclusion. The next, I'm as Indonesia, what we call scholar, if we can say as scholar, yeah. And also one of the developing countries, activists, we would like to conclude that we should formulate some strategy in the situation of volatile, situation of unforeseen, situation of uncertainty. We should focus to food industry, food security. Why? Like many other countries, like if we face the war, food security is very important. How many time we can survive with the stock of our food? Our religion also teach about halal. What is halal? In perspective of my economic, halal means you should think about your food security. How can that your beef and meat should be imported from country we don't know this is basmalah or no. So not only basmalah, this implication is very high. This means that we should fulfill our need of beef and meat. I make research with Pak Ikhwan that majority of beef is imported from Australia, right? Maybe more than 50% our beef imported from Australia. The second, I would like tribute to Schumpeter. He write a book with title "Small is Beautiful." What is the idea of Schumpeter? That if we simplify our
consumer, all consumption. Kalau kita menyederhanakan hidup seperti gerakan Mahatma Gandhi in India, the extreme ya. So the production will be serve the need. So the production structure will be changed. Where, in this case, the small medium enterprise will take participant. But now, not only small medium enterprise as usual, but we should add digital. Yeah? So, small digitalized is beautiful. Not only small is beautiful, but small digitalized is beautiful. Maybe only two architects make small office, and then they create a new building and they sell even domestic and abroad. So what I mean with the small digitalized SMA. So, by reducing the demand for unnecessary luxury good and service as high-end cell phone and fashion. Handphone saya ini juga sangat canggih ya. Mana handphone saya ya? Yang dilipat-lipat itu. Yang kadang-kadang aku tak tahu apa gunanya. Ya. Ini gunanya untuk apa? Ya. Sometimes I don't know what this use. Yeah. If we simplify this, the price is 25 million. If we simplify this, only 2 million, but still the key function still happen. So how much money I can save? Yeah, and maybe building a new SMA, and then the all structure of economy will change. This the dream of computer. I just make one word, places digitalized. So small digitalized. I say, and this will become an egalitarian economy. The many player and many consumer. This is my idea, Pak Huda. Thank you very much for inviting me to contribute to this seminar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Bambang Setiaji, for the insightful take on the topic. That is what I really love about Professor Bambang Setiaji's speech at any events, is that every slide of that power presentation can be written into a whole book. Yeah, I really like the final comment there. So at the beginning, Prof. Bambang mentioned intricacies like shifting economic power, shifting digital economic, and also he touched on how the shift in digital power turns into the shift in economic power, and that is really insightful. And he masterfully conclude the presentation by mentioning small. Yeah, go ahead, Professor. Yeah, small is beautiful. Yeah, which is really, which makes sense really. I myself have not bought the flip phone, Prof, because yes, I agree with, yes, Prof. Yeah, go ahead. Yes, because I agreed with Prof. Bambang that I don't know what it's used for. Why would I need a phone that can be flipped? Yeah. So anyway, this is the time for you, the audience, both here and also on the Zoom meeting, to ask questions, engage with the topic of our session this morning. So we already have someone here holding a microphone. If you have any question, or if you want to ask questions through the Zoom meeting, you can either ask directly and raise your hand on the Zoom platform, or you can write down your question on the chat feature. Okay, so time is yours. Please go ahead if you have any questions. Yes, we have a gentleman. I think that's Pak Abdillah, all the way on the corner. Mas, yeah. Okay. Any other one? Okay, so maybe we'll have Pak Abdillah first. Go ahead, Pak Abdillah, address your question.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Dear Pak Bambang,
Yeah.
and also the participant, I'm interested in your description about China power, yeah, especially in economy, politics, and the other fair. Yeah. We know that China government has determined the motto of Obor, yeah, one belt, one road. It means that China government try to occupy the neighboring country in order that to make their country become larger and larger, including in Indonesia. Pak Bambang just now explained dealing with the investment China in Indonesia, concerning with nickel mining and also kereta api cepat, yeah. And we have many difficulty how to pay back the debt, yeah. And our government, in short, is lie, yeah. And now we use our APBN to pay the debt. So I don't know exactly. Who knows, Pak Bambang? You will become the minister of economy and industry in the future, yeah? My question is, will you stop the cooperation with China or you continue cooperation with China, or we look for the other country for cooperation? Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Abdillah, Prof. Abdillah. Ini doa ini, Prof. Abdillah. Okay, I agree with you that China invest in Indonesia, especially in many infrastructure, yeah, especially the roads and then train, fast train. You know now, China gets sympathy from the Muslim country because the behavior of Europe and America to pick up Israel to attack Palestine. Before, I also very worried with the China because I read the book Rising China and Migration to ASEAN. In this book, the author explained how the China become problem in every country in ASEAN, including also in Africa. But after Palestine, I myself also hope to China also because aduh America like this. Yeah, but we should think carefully, yeah, because China has 1.5 billion people, maybe will follow the money. In this book, in the migration of China, they say the first step in the maybe 12th century is only send worker in the perkebunan itu apa? Farm, worker farm. After that, maybe in the middle, in the 15th century, until after that, they send a trader, investor, and after that, export, and after that, culture. So now in the state of exported culture to our country. So that's why many people worry because in economy, if we make relation, should be what we call labor surplus with capital surplus. It is the good relation. For instance, we are with Japan or we are with Germany, they lack in the manpower and they has capital, surplus capital. If we make relation, they will be very fit. Yeah? But China, beside capital, they also labor surplus, same with us. So in the Java, bahasa Jawa itu gadok, the same situation, not matching. This is what I worry, Pak Abdillah, maybe like you. So what should we do? Amerika tidak, China juga tidak. Yeah, make by ourselves. Just replicate China, because our prophet said, "Utlubul ilma walau bi sin." Take the what we call system, or take what we call the experience from China, to make our replication. So what should we do? Build our SME, small industry enterprise. Maybe in the first step we buy technology from China, and we in the first step assembling here. I opened the Alibaba.com. They sell from the very light industry under heavy industry. Even I asked the young men to codify what the China sell. So if you would like to measure how big China, how developed China, open Alibaba.com. Just open and modify, classify the data. One more other?
Yes, thank you, Professor. Yeah, thank you. Maybe there is a feedback from Pak Abdillah. Any further comment? Okay, no? Okay, so before I turn to the floor here, maybe there is someone on the Zoom meeting who would like to ask their questions. Oh, I believe that there is someone there who is already having their hand raised. I cannot really see the username, but sir or madam that is pinned on the screen now, I would like to invite you if you have any question, and maybe address it directly to Prof. Bambang. Go ahead. Hello, are you there? Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
That a small business or industry must to develop our country, right? But in the fact, in this time, I find and I observe many people that they are not strong about to use our product in Indonesia. So they must strong if they use the product maybe made in USA or the other countries. So even this time, the movement made the rule to boycott the new product, it support the Israel product. So how to fix this issue, Prof? With your opinion? Thank you, Prof.
Tentang boycott produk itu, boycott produk yang mendukung Israel itu.
Okay. About boycott product to Israel, yeah, I think this is very small, but even only 1-2%, the financing manager, the economist will think highly consideration. You know, interest only maybe different. 0.5% they change the money. This bank maybe 7%, and this bank maybe 7 point, Pak Mujib, iya kan? 7.2%, 1%. They change the money, they draw money from the bank to the other. So 1-10% is big thing, big thing. The most important one, I think, not the effect of the economic, but the effect of morality, the effect of our concern to express our unhappy. This is the most important thing.
Thank you, Bro. So although it's small, it's minimum, but
like when Nabi Ibrahim itu burning,
yes.
ya, cicak itu apa bahasa Inggrisnya cicak?
Lizard.
Itu meniup ya,
yes.
Blowing. They hope that the fire become bigger. But some bird, small bird, I don't remember the name, throw the
rock.
Air liur itu apa?
Saliva.
Saliva ya?
Yes.
Saliva. The most important thing, the action, yes. Not the effect.
Yeah.
in the moral side, yeah.
Yes. Small actions.
The
yeah,
action, not the effect.
Or okay. what would we call it? The butterfly effect. You know, a small thing that happens elsewhere in the world, and it creates big changes in other part of the world. Thank you, bro, for sharing your views on that. Any other question, either from the room here or from the Zoom? Okay, I understand there is another one from the Zoom meeting. Yeah, I think it's the last one because we have 5 minutes left. Go ahead. We can highlight the Zoom. Okay. Zoom.
Oh, from Zoom.
Yeah, I think someone from the Zoom meeting. They might need just a minute to configure everything. Yeah, so again, it was an insightful discussion. I'm sure that you would want to also reconnect with with Prof. Bambang. Oh, I think we have a question from a chat. I think it would be helpful if you zoom in on the text only, Mas Brondi. Okay, regardless, I'll read aloud the question. We feel that the digitalization of the economy forces the public follow it. However, sometimes the reality of activities is not as complex as the digitalization. Okay, how does the public follow or not follow the digitalization process, and can it be addressed with two lines, namely the adaptive line or of supermarkets, or should some be retained in the traditional market line as part of maintaining traditional marketing system? Oh, that's a great question. So where is the middle line there, Professor? Where's the sweet spot?
Okay. Oh, in my experience, yeah, all digitalized. Sometimes in the first time we talk about the value, yeah. But after they become our system, for instance, our system in university, our system in hospital, just now we feel that this is right, will improve our productivity. But in some product, digitalized cannot handle. What the job cannot be handled with digitalized. Yeah, the product who strongly apa itu bukan kepada service, human service. For instance, massage itu kan nggak bisa diganti dengan, cannot be change massage with mesin ya. If we going to airport, we can rent the massage $5 atau 5,000. Not like the blind people who make with the hand. So the job like this, you can find yourself what kind of job like this. Consultation, psycholog, and then lecture now can be changed with the online, with unsynchronized online. I'm now a student of Professor Raharjo. I take one course from Professor Raharjo. The name is Blockchain in Education. So in the future, education will change with blockchain technology. Professor Raharjo herself mentioned herself as university. They say, I am University of Raharjo. So in the future, university will change very much. Like wartawan, like correspondent, before working in the newspaper, now correspondent working by themselves. Maybe huda.com, bambangstiaji.com, yeah, in the future like this. Our our profession in the future also like that. We maybe bambangstiaji.com. I offer statistics, I offer Islamic economic, etc. And the student will directly inject to me, and after finish, they go to university to recognize the certificate. Okay, so sometimes digitalize is really important, sometimes digitalize cannot change our service. This is my opinion.
Yeah.
I think enough, Pak Uda.
Yes, it's exactly 45 minutes as well.
Still 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
please.
exactly 45 minutes. So
Our
time is up.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you again, Professor Bambang Siaji. I just want to highlight the last bit of his speech over there, and that last question really sums it up really well. That development and technology development, to be precise, is a double-edged sword. You know, in some part it can democratize, it helps the grassroots, but in some part it can democratize. Yeah, it doesn't help, and it actually threatens a number of jobs. So again, thank you again, Prof. Bambang, for sharing your take. We express our gratitude again and give a round of applause to Prof. Bambang Setiaji. And for those of you who are in Zoom meeting, we appreciate if you give us our feedback on clap. Yeah. Terima kasih, Prof. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Okay, again, we really appreciate, Prof, for sharing your keynote session here. Now we are going to move gear to the next keynote session, which will be Professor Syed Islam. I believe that he is already in Zoom meeting. Good morning, Indonesia time, Prof. Syed Islam.
Good afternoon from Australia. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear, Professor. What time is it now there? I believe that you're in New South Wales?
I'm in Victoria.
In you're in Victoria.
It's coming up to 2:37.
2:30. Okay, so good day to you then, Professor Syed Islam. Thank you for joining us. It is with great pleasure to welcome you here virtually. So before I hand it over to Professor Syed Islam, I would like to introduce him a little bit to our audience here. So, Professor Syed Islam is the sorry about that. Talking about technological challenges. So, Professor Syed Islam, he is the Associate Deputy Vice Chancellor in Research and Innovation, Federation University, and Advisory Director of Center for New Energy Transition Research. He received his BSc, MSc, and also PhD degrees, all in electrical engineering in 1979, 1983, and 1988 consecutively, respectively, by mistake. He is currently the Associate Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Innovation, and he previously held the position of Executive Dean for the Institute of Innovation, Science and Sustainability at Federation University Australia. His research interests are in distributed energy resources, conditioning monitoring of transformers, wind energy conversion, and also smart power systems. He has been a keynote speaker and invited speaker at many international workshops and conferences. He has also held a position of visiting professor at Shanghai University of Electrical Power and Xi'an-Jiatong University, China. So all in all, he is an excellent professor, and I'm sure that he is an excellent professor, an excellent speaker as well. So, Professor, we have audiences both here on the floor here in our auditorium. We also have participants in our Zoom meeting who I'm sure who are eager to hear about your take on our keynote theme. So 30 minutes for the for your session, and we give 15 minutes for the Q&A. Does that sound okay?
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, go ahead,
So,
Professor. Yes, go ahead, Professor. The screen is yours.
I can share my screen. I think that's what I need to do now.
Yes, yes, you are the co-host now, so go ahead, Professor. Yeah, the screen is all yours. Yeah.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Yes.
What about now?
Not yet, Professor.
Not yet. Okay. What about now?
Okay.
Yes, yes, it's here now. Yeah, it's here.
All right, good. So you can now see my screen, which
yes, it works.
Which is good. All right. So first of all, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and I particularly thank Professor August Ulinha, who was my student when I was at Curtin University, and I'm so glad to see him doing so well at University Muhammadiyah, Surakarta. I'm very pleased to accept this invitation to share some of my experience in the field of new energy transition research or renewable energy development and this opportunity to contribute to global energy demand. I would like to tailor this to an Australian experience that we are experiencing here in Australia. So perhaps you will be then able to see that where the challenges lie, where the opportunities lie, what are the big hurdles, and how some of these can be surmounted. So, so if I look into the global primary energy consumption, this is a 2022 information. You look at that, we of course consume energy in electricity sector, transportation sector, and in the infrastructure sector. If you look at what is the status of play as of last year, still we are heavily dependent on the fossil fuel, oil, coal, gas, and the low carbon sources in 2022 only amounted to 18.2%, which is not significant. We need to do much, much better. So what is happening is that out of the 18.2% low carbon sources in the world that is being consumed into 2022, 14.2% was from renewable sources such as wind, solar, hydro, and biofuels. And this is a number that we need to pay particular attention to as engineers, that how we can raise this, and I suppose in the interest of talk, this is the area of focus. Indonesia, for example, produced 10.2% from low carbon sources in 2022. Australia produced 14.45% from low carbon sources in 2022, but 19.56% in 2023. And about 35% of all electricity in Australia came from renewables in 2023. So you can see that that the country is on the move, and there have been a lot of emphasis on renewables, and we are seeing now very exponential jump in the production of renewable energy in the country. How does this compare with the rest of the world? China produced 18.37% low carbon. Denmark produced 43%. We know that they have got a lot of wind power. European Union countries sitting at 28.7%, and United States is sitting at 18.94% low carbon sources in 2022. So they have also a long way to go. So the driver for all of these is the political will and the commitment from the various governments. So we know that the Climate Change Summit and the G20 commitment on net zero, 5 of the G20 countries have got very clear plans, and other countries must now follow or starting to have some commitment. We see, for example, Indonesia, the only Asian country in G20, has a net zero target by 2060. China, the world's largest greenhouse gas emission country, has committed that it will peak carbon emission by 2030 and carbon neutrality by 2060. And a lot of companies, big companies in the world now are committing to net zero targets, which is very encouraging to see. Still, there are about 83% of regions and 69% of cities in G20 has not have a net zero target yet. And India and Mexico have yet to formally declare any net zero target. So you see that there are various levels of commitment, but this is the commitment that is very important for the achievement of net zero target and having accelerate renewable energy adoption in the world. So what is net zero definition? Net zero emissions are achieved when anthropogenic emissions of greenhouse gases. So these gases are carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide, and those SOx and NOx. They are released into the atmosphere, are balanced by anthropogenic removals over a specified period. Then we can have a net zero target. And sometimes that is also referred as climate neutrality. In the interest of time, I will not read everything on the slide. If you look at this, this is how Australia's 2050 net zero target is. So Australia committed, like the other G20 countries, that, okay, we would get to net zero in 2050. And the plan is that we will have both emission reductions technique and have carbon offset technique. And that would take us in the balance of 2050, that will take us to a net zero emission target. So that is something that need to be mindful of. You notice that if Australia did not have a 2050 net zero target and works toward that, our emission will reach 3 million metric tons of carbon dioxide emission, which is horrendous. So how do you see that a country can adopt this? So Australia, what it did is that initially it came up with something called a carbon credit unit, and it targeted that people who emit carbon, they can buy carbon credits to neutralize their emission, and people can go to bid for having to go for carbon emission. So they created about $2.5 billion funding, and that resulted in a lot of activity in terms of how those who want to carbon farm and those who want to go into carbon offset. So that resulted in a lot of carbon credit being issued, and as a matter of fact, only 230 million of that 2.5 billion now remaining, and we still have approximately 144 million carbon credit units to achieve. So in the past, we have actually paid too much for carbon farming, and now we don't have too much money for that purpose. So still the government need to come up with policies and incentives in place so the renewable energy adoption can accelerate. So what currently happening that we have got something called RECs and LGC. The RECs is renewable energy certificate, and the LGCs are large scale generation certificates. So what that basically means is that people who are generating electricity, that is the utilities or electricity companies, they can invest in renewable energy. And they can do it in the form of renewable energy certificates. And one certificate is about 1 megawatt hour of renewable energy produced from renewable schemes such as wind, solar, etc. So the big companies, they could actually then subscribe to this RECs and LGC in order to offset their carbon emissions. Australia also have got something called a PPA or Power Purchasing Agreement scheme. What that basically means that renewable energy developers can partner with big companies, and then they can come together to produce large scale emission reduction schemes such as solar farm or wind farms. So what that all has resulted in is, and I take the example here of the state that I live in. I live in Victoria, and this is the Victorian experience so far. Victoria, until 2019, used to depend heavily on brown coal power from Gippsland region. In 2019, the government overnight retired the Hazelwood power station that produced 1.5 gigawatt worth of coal-fired power. And that was a perfectly operating power station, but it was closed by the policy. In 2019, Loyang A and B and Ilarun power station producing 4.7 gigawatt. They have license to operate for another 20 years, but the board of those companies, the company that own those power stations, like Energy Australia and AGL, their board of governors are pushing the companies to close them much earlier, which is interesting. The Victorian Renewable Energy Target or V-Rate scheme, it has got a target of 50% of the state's energy generation by 2030, and see Victoria's wind produced renewable energy increase from 1.7 gigawatt in 2018 to about 6.4 gigawatt in 2025, an average annual growth rate of 20%. And we see a huge amount of onshore wind farm coming up in Victoria. It is also planning to have Star of the South, the largest offshore wind farm, which eventually could go up to 10 to 13 gigawatt. That is also taking shape, and the first one to come in 2032 online, about 2 gigawatt. Victoria and a Japanese investor invested in $100 million liquid hydrogen from brown coal plant to fuel the Tokyo Olympic taxi fleet, and that has already taken place. So you can see that how the country is moving into the renewable energy domain. If I look at now overall Australia, what is happening? There are about 27,200 megawatt worth of solar PV installed capacity in Australia now. That's huge. And as a result of that, we see that the peak demand on the electric utilities are reducing. So for example, in the state of Western Australia, the minimum load reached 800 megawatt in 2022. In 2016, this amount was 4,300 megawatt. So you can see that how the solar rooftop scheme, that is large scale distributed solar, is contributing to the demand reduction. South Australia already reached 100% electrical energy coming from renewable on a good day in 2021. I talked about the other two items earlier. But one of the interesting things is that our capital city, Canberra, the Australian Capital Territory, they have come up with now the mandate that they will register no petrol or diesel car after 2035 in ACT. That means all of the electric vehicles will have to be in there thereafter. In Australia, if you look at the map on the screen, you see that we have got west on the left and we have got the east on the right. So the electricity system in Australia is divided into two. One of them is known as the Southwest Interconnected Grid, which is basically WA. And then you have got the rest of the east, which is Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, and Tasmania. That's the shaded in blue, is actually the national electricity market, or the, what do you call, the Australian Eastern Interconnected Power Systems. And this is how Australia actually runs its electricity grid. Of what is interesting to see here is that it is such a big country that we have got about 40,000 kilometers worth of transmission lines. And that is an interesting thing to remember, because it will come in my talk later on. So in order to promote renewable energy into the system, the Electricity Network Association of Australia in 2017, they came up with the Future Generation Expansion Plan. And if you see 2015 on the left of the graph to 2050 on the right of the graph, you see the mirror image of it. In 2015, it was dominated by black coal, brown coal, gas, whereas in 2050, the prediction is that both gas, black coal, brown coal, and hydro will be very limited, but our electricity system will be dominated by distributed solar, large-scale, utility-scale solar, and by wind. Okay? That too is changing now. That 2017 prediction is now also changing. And if you look into this graph, you see the right-hand side, 2050, those big bubbles. And if you can see that, yes, they will be coming from rooftop solar, utility scale solar, wind power, but also about 22% will come from storage. And this is an interesting thing, because when you have too much renewable in your system, you need something to replace the inertia of your synchronous machine. And that can come from the storage system, synthetic, in the form of synthetic inertia. So this 22% storage, I believe that it is also going to grow further and further. So these are all the mix of renewable energy now. Distributed rooftop solar, utility grade solar, offshore wind, onshore wind, and battery energy storage system. These are the various components of the future generation mix. If you want to see how that has impacted the grid, so look at this figure. This is the National Electricity Market figure, and that is Australian Eastern State Interconnection System. And if you look at Q4, okay, supply of energy, 2021 versus 2020, in 1 year only, that figure is showing you the change. So it's actually the average change in megawatts, okay? So you can see that how that within that 1 year period, those black coal, brown coal, and the gas has been taken over by the distributed solar, the utility solar, and the wind power. So you can see the real impact on the grid, that how renewable is making a big play in the Australian electricity generation system. To do this, the country is planning, infrastructure planning department, who plan their infrastructure. They see that this is the way they see that where the investment will go. So big investment will go in wind, particularly offshore wind, and transmission, because those wind, solar farms, they are not in a place where our existing power stations are. They are a little bit far away, or maybe some distance away from these infrastructure. So therefore we need to connect these new development onto our grid, and therefore there will be a huge transmission requirement there. And then we see that there will be pumped hydro. Hydro mainly will be in the storage form, so pumped hydro, and then we'll have others such as batteries and hydrogen. They will be coming into play in the future. I'm not going to concentrate on hydrogen right now. So if you look into these pipeline infrastructure projects in 2023, you can see here that where the investment is going. About 8.9 billion in wind projects and 3.6 billion in battery projects, solar projects, and pumped hydro projects. These are constituting the large-scale investment at the moment in Australian system. And if you want to go and be serious about net zero and want to have that aggressive target like Victoria, that by 2030, 50% of power will come from renewables, and by 2040, 85% of power will come from renewables, and by 2045, 100% of power coming from renewable, then this is what needs to happen. As I mentioned, that there will be a huge demand in transmission, so this will be a big challenge, that how we bring those offshore wind, onshore wind, large-scale solar farm into the grid. So there will be, I think the conservative estimate is we will need approximately 6,000 to 10,000 kilometer worth of new transmission line. And that is why you have seen why those large investments are planned in that area. To give you some now, a little bit of a detail of what is happening around that and various projects, have a look at this curve. This is various states like Western Australia, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, and Northern Territory, Tasmania. And this is what it shows, that how the solar is contributing to the grid. And you can see that it's almost 70% in some cases are coming from solar. So Peak demand in 2021-22 was 32.7 thousand megawatts. Solar PV installation is 27,200 megawatts in 2022. So interesting thing is that if you look at in South Australia, which is one of the states has gone renewable path very significantly. If you look at the 11th of October at 10 past 10 a.m. In 2022 in South Australia, you see that their total generation was 1,727 megawatts. But when you look at the composition of that, the wind was 1,207, small solar 323, large solar 119, battery 25, and gas, which about 2,400 megawatt in installed capacity, only 82 megawatts. And that too, because when you run gas-fired power station, you have to have a minimum loading on those gas-fired stations to avoid damage to the system, to their generation system. And that is why there is that 82 megawatts there. Okay. The South Australian system recently was disconnected from the national electricity market or from the interconnected system. And when you look at that, you see that how wind and PV actually was taking the bulk of the load, actually about 2/3 of their system load. So the progress in wind energy and the solar energy has done so much. However, we know that renewable energy is unpredictable. The wind can blow or can stop. The sun can shine or cannot shine or cloud. So therefore, there needs to be a huge amount of batteries that has to come to enable this wind and solar energy penetration. And this is why we are now seeing very large scale battery energy storage projects in Australia. You must have heard the Tesla's 100 megawatt hour battery energy project in South Australia. But now there are some bigger than that system is coming into the system. And what is happening, those coal-fired power stations, which is a good piece of real estate, the company are now dismantling those power plants and installing battery energy storage system there. For example, AGL is planning to have 1,200 megawatt of with battery energy storage in their Liddell power station site, which used to house 500 megawatt of coal-fired power station. And it just closed in April 2023. Victoria is producing 300 megawatt lithium-ion battery energy storage in a place called Moorabool, which is not very far from where I live. And this battery is going to add about 250 megawatt worth of extra capacity into the transmission system in the middle of nowhere. And we call that virtual transmission line. That any time that transmission line needs to expand its capacity, you can bring these batteries online. Similar thing is happening in Canberra or ACT. They are producing even a larger one, about 500 megawatt hour battery storage system in there. And they don't have to be all put in by government. They are coming in public-private partnership. Okay, and currently the investment in this large-scale battery plant is about 600 to 700,000 Australian dollar per megawatt hour of utility-grade batteries. Okay, so when you install these batteries, how do you have a business case, or how do you actually make your money? The money that comes by installing batteries, by using cheap energy or even negative pricing, at some point of time when wind is too much, solar is too much, and the grid needs to dispense of energy, they sell it at negative prices. So you then use that to charge your battery. So therefore, you make money in that sense by selling later on in the form of energy, in the form of FCAS, regular FCAS and contingency FCAS. FCAS is frequency ancillary support mechanism. So basically what means that when there are uncertainty of and mismatch of generation and load, frequency changes. And to support that, you can then get the batteries to support that FCAS, so frequency support. In Australia, I told you that there's a lot of onshore wind that is going, and as a matter of fact, if you look at right now the a biggest wind farm in Victoria, and that's about 420 megawatts. But even bigger will be in Queensland in next year. And we are very lucky in Victoria that our average wind speed is about 7.2 meters per second. So it's a beautiful place for large-scale wind. And that is why we are seeing gigawatts worth of wind investment into Victoria. I talked about Star of the South, and again Victoria leading the way, and this will be the largest offshore wind power generation in the southern hemisphere, and we are seeing about 2,000 megawatt coming in 2032, another 2,000 in 2035, and another 9,000 megawatts by 2040. So by 2040, Victoria will have about 13,000 megawatts worth of offshore wind. And that is a big challenge in itself, because not many know-how are there. The issue of offshore structure, the damages to the marine environment, all of these are big things that need to be tackled, because the environmental protection agencies, they are very keen to see that you don't damage the environment in doing renewables. I mentioned about the frequency dependency on this uncertain power, because when you have too much renewable, your grid is going to be vulnerable. So what happens is that when there is a mismatch between power and load, and in this case, the figure shows that the load is more and the generation is low, then what happens? The frequency dives. So the frequency will have a dip, and then you need frequency control mechanism to bring it again back to 50 hertz. Because we need 50 hertz for our system, for different things, for motors, for televisions. We need right frequency, otherwise we won't have good life. So, and the primary frequency response is the one that can kick in when the frequency drops too much. Secondary can come in when the frequency has recovered, and tertiary can come in when you need to go back to steady state. And we now seeing a lot of batteries coming in, and the FCAS market is basically that primary control. Now you can see that why the batteries are coming so thick and fast. The secondary frequency control will be the traditional technique like the automatic generation control and other mechanisms. And the tertiary can be by bringing in new generator online or loading existing generator to higher level. But those are a bit slower function, and that's why the primary function can be given by the batteries through VPP, virtual power plant, and synthetic inertia. You can see on this graph that how the frequency support can happen if you have got photovoltaic, and that is battery supported inverters. In 1 second you can bring them online to support your frequency. While the steam turbine can take up to days to kick off a new steam turbine, charge the boiler, generate saturated steam. That's a long-term effect. And basically what we see is that now this on the figure on the right-hand side, you can see the various renewable mechanism, whether it is wind, solar, batteries, or hydrogen, and they're coming in to support that primary frequency control mechanism. And you can actually have better results than just the synchronous machine, but real inertia, because the battery and the inverter system is so fast. So I think that the engineers have found a way that even though renewable can be uncertain, now there is a mechanism to control your frequency. I'm going to now talk about frequency is one thing, but then is also something called voltage. We don't like the voltage to go beyond too much and drop too much, because then we don't have quality of electricity supply. So here is an example that I tried with my student, and that is, this is a distributed distribution system, and if you had all those nodes, you have got solar PV installed on the rooftop, what would happen to that distribution transformer? You can see that on a good time, that is basically during the midday, there will be no power coming from the utility into that distribution system, because all of them is supported by the houses are supported fully by the PV. However, during the evening peak, that is actually still there, because the evening peak is when the solar has gone down. So that on that distribution, we don't see any change there. But look at the voltages. The voltages are clustering and flaming. And that would mean that you really need to do something to control your voltage. And this is where the electricity market operator come in to provide various level of voltage control techniques. And that could be through FACT system, SVCs, STATCOMs, etc., or through slow mechanism like voltage regulator, on-load tap changers, and etc. that people already know of, right?
5 minutes, Professor. If you don't mind.
I'll be there. Okay, so if you look at the spot mechanism, the electricity market pricing, that actually shows that because of sometimes that the electricity could be very much demanded, the price actually, the brown line can shoot up. And this is where if you have got a renewable opportunity, you can make your money, or battery, you can make your money. Okay, and the other application of that would be is that you can actually then design your own smart metering, through smart metering your dynamic tariff system. That means that the tariff can be designed real time to bring your peak down or fill the valley, those who understand the demand mechanism scheme. In Australia now we are seeing a lot of renewable energy zones in Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria. And here is the graph that you can see. All those dots on the screen, they will be the renewable energy zones. And that would mean that we would need a lot of new transmission systems. And these are the new transmission, the green one that need to be developed if we are to go in that renewable energy zone mechanism. These are some of the new projects that currently underway. We also need to rely dependence on electricity generation is one thing, but transportation is a big thing for pollution and for emission. So what we can do there is bring in electric vehicle. Australia is not doing very well there. We are lagging behind, and that is mainly because it's a large country. Charging stations are small, not too frequent, high battery cost. The DNSPs or the distribution network operator thinks about the new peaks, and the new peaks are coming. As you can see that when the EV rebate program come in, how the new peaks are developing on the system, and they are very worried about that. They are also happy because they are selling more energy now than before because of due to rooftop, the consumption went down. But now the EV electric vehicle charging, the consumption is coming back. So that gives them some incentive to be in the business. Our research center, Center for New Energy Transition Research, is working on many of these projects on next generation smart inverter, virtual power plant, blue hydrogen, energy efficiency, cogeneration, climate impact, grid resiliency, microgrid feasibility, waste to energy or bioenergy production. And this is some of the research challenges and opportunities that those who are researchers in electrical engineering can target. These are the big challenges: microgrid feasibility, neighborhood battery, smart power converters for microgrid and blockchain application, primary frequency support through flywheel, virtual inertia, blue and green hydrogen, solar PV and the battery project for age of grid application, dynamic operating envelope of distribution network, grid issues to deal with EV rollout, future proofing, climate change impact on future electricity grid, carbon neutrality for the agriculture sector, circular economy approaches for recycling, electrification of gas and transportation sector. And last but not the least, we need education and training to fill the gaps. In this new energy domain, there are a lot of trades, a lot of employment that we currently don't know of. And this is where new education, training, curriculum design is required so you can meet the demand. The demand is huge. In Australia alone, we predict that there will be about 18,000 new jobs that will be required by 2030. And therefore, we don't have those people and those skills. And therefore, the universities and the TAFE sector, higher education sector has to come together to design curriculum so that this new energy, renewable dominated system and renewable dominated power system economy can run forward. I think I will stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor, for the really insightful and also detailed and deep talk on the topic. I'm a business student, Professor, and I also study economics. So when listening to your presentation there, my point of view is from the economics point of view, and the economics point of view always revolve around supply and demand. And I was going to ask you just that, if the demand is really high, and then the supply is not ready, then what would we do then? People want it, but we do not know enough. But on the last slide, you answered my question exactly. Is that there is a training and education gap. We need to know what we do not know. Yeah, and that I think that that last slide really captures the whole challenges really well. So thank you again, Professor. So we come to the Q&A session now. I want to go over to the Zoom meeting first, because I believe that there is someone there early in the presentation asking a question for you. We will have it on the screen here and have it highlighted here, so it would be convenient for all of us to see. But while waiting for the screen to turn into the question, I will read it from my own Zoom meeting here. Thank you again for Prof. Syed Islam for the question. This question is from Mr. Agus Duyanto. So his question is, to delve deeper into the practical implications for society, could you please elaborate on the specific real-world benefits of renewable energy adoption as observed in the Australian experiment for the general public? Also, how can these benefits be measured or tangibly felt by individuals and communities? And finally, how do you ensure that these positive outcomes are sustained and not just temporary during the study period? If the research results are good, can they be applied to all countries, or are they just isolated? And do they have limitations because each country has its own strengths, weaknesses, and conflicts? Wow, it's a loaded question, Professor. Yeah, over to you.
I think I understand the summary of the question, and I think the question is about that how renewable energy adoption could benefit communities and individuals. So I think, look, one of the things is that everybody wants cheap electricity, and people also do not like to be dictated by the utilities and their distribution companies that what they will have to do with their electricity as a commodity. So what we are seeing now is that a lot of neighborhood batteries coming in, a lot of community energy cooperative coming in, a lot of blockchain-based peer-to-peer energy trading coming in, and people collectively aggregating their small amount of energy that they have to bid in the grid as if that they have a big generator. So that is giving them an opportunity to go on saving electricity at times when the grid needs it, as you mentioned, that demand and supply shortfall, and the spot price goes maybe from $6 a megawatt hour to $70 a megawatt hour. You can then collectively come together, aggregate your small energy to make it a cluster of energy as a virtual power plant, and contribute to the F-gas market, the frequency support market, and that is the business model. A lot of community energy installing neighborhood batteries, their own batteries in their own home to supplement their solar system, and they are getting the benefit of that mechanism. It is still in the infancy, but it is happening in Australia, and a lot of projects now are targeting these community energy and microgrid and neighborhood grid system. So maybe somehow I have addressed that question.
Thank you, Professor, for the answer. Now I turn it over to our audience in our auditorium. If there is any question from anyone in this room, please go ahead and address your question to Professor Islam. Yes, go ahead, sir. Yeah, the gentleman on the back. Yeah, the camera might need to turn over to him.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum, Professor Syed Islam. I'm Yasir Siddiq, a lecturer at Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta. Thank you very much for your presentation. That the current presentation you describe the progress of construction of renewable energy in Australia and compared to the global. And I'm just wondering that if I'm not mistaken, in your slide, you showed that the construction of renewable energy in Australia concentrated in the eastern area of Australia. Is there any criteria or maybe a reason why this construction is concentrated in maybe Queensland, Victoria, or in the eastern part of Australia? Is that clear, my question?
Yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Professor. Thank you. Hello? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I believe we have a technical difficulty here. Hello, Prof. Islam, are you here with us in our Zoom meeting? Yes,
similar thing in the world.
Yeah, we are back.
I have actually concentrated mainly on the eastern, or what we call the national electricity market NEM, which is in the eastern seaboard and is interconnected system except for Is that okay?
Yes, we are connected now. Apologize for that. I think it's our network here. Yeah. Go ahead, Professor Islam. We can hear you now. Yes. Go ahead, Professor.
Hello, Professor Huda, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me? We can hear you loud and clear.
Professor, we have some technical difficulties here in the Jabodetabek-Banten Surakarta. We can hear you and go ahead with the questions because Mr. Huda is not connected yet with the Zoom meeting. Please go ahead with the answer. Thank you and apologies for the inconvenience.
That's all right.
Yeah, go ahead again. I'm just using my speaker, but we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. I think I tried to answer that question that was asked. Was that hard, or I need to repeat the answer?
I'm sorry, come again, Professor?
No. There was a question that was asked about why the activities are around the eastern side of the country and all along the coast. Yeah. And I tried to answer that by saying that Australia is a large country, but we have a small population, and most of the people wants to live along the coast. And because of that, most of our facilities, power, and transmission system are actually clustered along the coast and coastal belt. And this is where also you get most of the wind, because the onshore wind is good on the eastern seaboard, and also there are a lot of spaces for large-scale solar farm. If you do it in the middle of Australia, you still have to bring that power through transmission system, and it's going to cost more money. That's why they are targeting the investment in a place where they can bring the power back to the load center at a cheaper option. And that is why the power grid is concentrated along the coast. And I have only spoke about the national electricity market or the eastern interconnection seaboard, eastern seaboard interconnection, and I have not gone into the west. The west, similar thing is happening in the west, which I haven't touched so much.
Thank you, Professor. That explains it. Just to make sure, can you hear me now, Professor Islam? Through my speaker? Or anyone in the Zoom? Works now? Okay. Yeah, so again, thank you for the answer, Professor. I believe that's quite practical on why it's on the east side of the development. I believe that our country, ourselves, we face the same challenge, is that it is more not feasible to do development in some areas. Just to share a bit, we are in Solo, Indonesia, which is the hometown of our current president, and we just had a connection problem, internet problem, in the town of our current president. So that says it all, basically, on the development and overall, not just in Indonesia, but development and also technological application, is that it always face some challenges. I believe we still have 1 or 2 minutes left, so just in case there is a question, just one question from the auditorium or someone in the Zoom. Okay, so if there is no question left, I believe that should conclude our second keynote session. Let's give a round of applause to Professor Syed Islam, who has shared his thought on this topic of renewable energy and the challenges and how what gaps are there that we are challenged to fill in that gaps. Again, we appreciate your attention and also your effort in sharing your thoughts, Professor. And before I let you go, we would like to give a token of appreciation for your willingness to speak to us. So we will be virtually present a certificate to you. Of course, we will have it sent to you. It's just for formal delivery. We will have it virtually present it on the screen.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Yes. Thank you again, Professor.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you again. And that concludes our second keynote session, which was on renewable energy. And now we move forward to the final agenda of this morning, which is the last keynote session of this morning, which should be delivered by Dr. Christophe Venuvesi. I just say hi to him in the Zoom room. Good morning, Indonesia time, Dr. Venuvesi, and I believe it's even earlier in your time zone. Good morning. He's not in the Zoom? Not yet? Yeah, so just a little bit of background story. Dr. Venuvesi is joining us from Finland, which is, I think it's 5 hours early than us. So it is about 6 or 5:30 early in the morning there, and I know that part of the world, the sun shines, or the sun rises quite late during the day. So I believe that it's really early morning over there. So in case Dr. Venuvesi has any difficulty in joining us, then we should be able to understand that such circumstances do not allow him to join us this morning. But regardless, I'll try to say hi to him one more time if he's able to join us. Good morning, Indonesia time, Dr. Fenyufesi. Okay, yeah, he's not there. That's fine. Time zone, yeah, time zone challenges. I had that problem as well. I had some meetings with other partners from other part of the world, and sometimes I need to wake up early, like 2 in the morning, because I need to meet. Sometimes we need to meet with someone from the other part of the world, and it's really challenging. So that's fine. So since Dr. Fenyufesi is not able to join us this morning, that should conclude our keynote session this morning. Again, just to reiterate what I said earlier in the session, is that this keynote session is about giving all of us perspectives and also worldviews. I believe this is not the only session that you are going to have in this summit. You might have the conference that you are going to join tomorrow. I was told that there are 14 sub-conferences. Some had already been held last week, but most will be done tomorrow. So I just wish to all of you a really great summit, and also a really great conference of researching, of collaborating, and also of connecting with other researchers in your respective field. That should conclude it. Again, I thank you, all of you, for joining us this morning, both in this auditorium and also in the Zoom meeting. And also, if you are watching this from YouTube later on, we really appreciate that. Again, thank you, and I would like to offer my sincere apology if throughout guiding this session there is anything that you do not seem fit. Thank you again, and have a nice rest of the day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I return it to Master Hoyan.
Please give big applause for our fantastic moderator, Mr. Huda Maulana, Master of Business Administrations. Not only professional in economics, but also good in technology development. Okay? Thank you, Mr. Huda Maulana, for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to the end of the opening ceremony of ISET 2023. Before we conclude, we will display a link to record your attendance for this event. After filling out this form, the e-certificate will be promptly sent to the email which you have registered. Maybe the link has appeared. That's the link. You can copy and paste it to your browsers, fill out the form, and a certificate will be promptly sent to the email which you have registered. Okay? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the opening ceremony of ISET 2023. On behalf of all the committee members and staff, we express our gratitude for your participations. We look forward to seeing you at future events at Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And have a nice day.